Hey, everybody, welcome to the next episode of Deep Thinker Society, second episode of season 2. Today, we are super excited to have Elayne Lemond and as our guest today. And then we have a guest host today, Miss Lark. And we have a super exciting episode today. Our guest, I'm just going to let you introduce yourself and tell the audience, about you without giving too much away.
Okay. My name is Elayne Lemond at www.empowerwholeness.com. And I have studied as a neurokinesiologist and brain integration with over 2,000 hours of study and 20 years of clinical practice with working in the holographic field. And I studied with powerful instructors and had that information, which really ended up being a great contribution as I went through my life's process and ended up having a near-death experience and awakening to my true purpose and that I'm here to do.
It's so amazing. So that your near-death experience, I'm sure, was that pivotal step that literally changed not only your life, but many lives that you've touched since then. And I'm really looking forward to hearing a little bit more about, that journey you went on.
Well, where do we begin? So I was in the process of going through a deep death. I had a disease that was happening in my body, and my white blood count was very high, and there weren't any doctors that could figure out what was wrong with me. And finally, I found a natural doctor who guided me to go build my body up just for me to be able to go in to have surgery. So it took me 6 months of detox to clear my body out before we could even have surgery. And then I ended up dying on the surgery table. And in that near-death experience, I first noticed the flat line on the monitor. I was looking at my body from above my body and experiencing the doctors in the room that were calling my name, and I could experience like their emotions, what they were feeling, the vibration in the room. And at the same time, I was also speaking with a supreme being, and it's like I knew who that person was and what their vibration was, and basically explained to me about my contract, about what I was here on earth to do, and that everything up to that point was now complete, and I was beginning a new process, and a higher octave version of myself was walking in. And I was told how to heal my body and what I needed to do for my purpose and mission. And I could still see what's happening at the same time. And it's very interesting because literally we're not speaking words. It's a vibration that they're speaking into your mind. And we communicate telepathically in that space. But our limited ability to see things is completely expanded. Like I knew every detail that was happening in the surgery room, as well as every detail that was happening in my present reality. And it was just literally like being in a different room and seeing all the everything that was happening. And it felt like to me I was there for a long time, but finally, after I had received the downloads of information, I was told to follow the love, and I turned around and looked at the surgery room and went into my body, and immediately in my body, the monitor started going again, and the doctors were speaking, and I was, out, but then all of a sudden I sunk into my body and then began to feel all the immense pain of my body's destruction again. And that began my process of healing, which included 120 hyperbaric chamber dives and many other resources that I had so many heroes step up and help me to receive. And it was a really powerful journey for me to experience, but very difficult to integrate.
When you were talking about your seeing your flatlining, and realizing that you were in your body, and then you stated a higher octave came in, walked in. So I was trying to visualize your story, and are you saying that um, you didn't see any other being, you became aware of yourself at a higher, like your higher self? It's like you emotionally knew that that was happening. You didn't, because you didn't hear any words and you didn't see any other beings, you just sort of knew this was what was happening.
It's difficult to explain because there was definitely the presence of other beings with me, but there wasn't necessarily a body, but more like a spirit or soul essence of them. And there was like an outline of a body. And I think that that has to do more with what we're familiar with as human beings. I don't want it to frighten us, but there were other beings that were communicating with me that I knew had my best interests, that were offering me this beautiful support and help me understand, because I was not happy about my experience of going through that slow death of disease. I was a single mom with 5 children at the time, and trying to fight for survival while I had full time with my children. It was like I was very upset about missing out on my children's experiences, and so there were a lot of things I was like complaining about, and that's when I was shown, like, you agreed to all of these choices. These were initiations that you needed to go through in order to progress and experience, because some things we can only know the depth of that by going through the process, and that's why we choose those choices.
So basically, like, we're learning is that we have a soul contract before we come in, and they were just reminding you that yes, that is, like they validated your feelings, but reminded you that you agreed to this so that to get you to the point you were at right there, right?
Right, right. And to my interest, it ended up being that there was a lot of resolution that we can talk about in a little bit later, but a lot of resolution that I had to create with a past parallel life stream of being a shaman.
Yeah, so before we get into that, and because I do want to touch at that, a lot of our listeners aren't as aware of like things such as even karma, or even multiple realities, and so a near death experience, and seeing other beings, they might be a little more aware of that, and maybe they can relate to angels, but maybe we could do a little bit of insight into what that means, like as far as maybe a past life and maybe parallel realities. Maybe we could explain a little bit what that means.
As ancient souls, we are literally on the earth. We've studied in different planetary systems in order for us to come into the earth plane, which is the densest plane that exists throughout the cosmos. And to come into the earth, where we go through the veils of illusion, or the Maya, which is where we don't have the memories of our other experiences that we've had as a soul, is part of the initiation, because what we're here on the planet to do is to come into the remembrance of who we are as soul beings. And we're literally going through a cycle of the astrology, where we're mastering different frequencies, different realities on the earth plane in order for us to pass these initiations. It's some type of maybe like a achievement goal that are so excuse me, it's like a achievement or goal that our soul desired to experience, which means part of being on the earth plane is to recognize that we're all of it. We are everything that we hate, that we despise, that we judge, that we disconnect with, and we're also every part and aspect of that love. And through this process that we take in this journey, we're mastering different astrological timelines, which would be like parallel or past life. And the reason I say past parallel is because really there's no time and space. That is a limitation that we're experiencing in our 3D and 4D reality. But in reality, everything is happening all at the same time. So if
Really, really
yeah,
quickly, just before, because this is going down a rabbit hole, and really quickly before we go down too deep, the challenge I think some people have with understanding this is the we part, and the part where we state remembering who we are, and or like self-realization who we are, and then the fact that, you know, being in this reality, in this earth plane. And so what I've sort of been trying to do as far as planting seeds with some of our listeners and some of the content I post is I try to explain, as much as words will allow, that we are not our human ego and body. We came into this human ego body in this earth plane at this time. What we really are is, as you stated, we're everything. We are a spark of consciousness from everything that exists, and we are an awareness in this human ego body at this time. The confusing part, when we get to time and reality, is that um, our ego, and our human self has been in these timelines along the earth many times. And so when we're in the earth story, we have karma sometimes, and we need to finish some of that out. But our consciousness has not only been attached to an earth self, our consciousness has actually, as you stated in the beginning, been in other worlds and galaxies where things are much easier. And that's why now that we're in earth, we're not understanding why it's so hard to live and exist and be happy. None of it, I remember being a young child, none of it made sense. So on that note, you know, just reminding the audience that we are just living out an experience in the human realm, and we did agree to be here. And while we're here, we're working out, you know, karma maybe that we created, because it is a 3D reality, and it does work much different, and that's why we don't feel comfortable or safe on earth as much, because it doesn't. Basically, the reason we're here doing this work is to bring earth up to a frequency that is much more, less, like you said, less dense. And if I need to be corrected anywhere in there, please feel free. But just to pick back up where you left off about time and reality and multiple parallels, I feel like helping them understand that we are not this body. We are just the spark of all it is in a 3D reality.
As you were speaking, it reminded me of the movie Avatar, and how they literally would transport his true essence or soul into the avatar body. And I think that's a really good representation of what we're experiencing, because in our near-death experience, even though the body is no longer alive, I'm very much still myself and still thinking and still aware. And just like in the movie Avatar, he would awake to his true reality of who he was. out of the avatar body, and then he could go back into the body. Every night when we're going to sleep, we are astral traveling. We're going to other aspects of ourselves and reconnecting, regenerating, doing healing process. And even in the illusion of time, how do we know that when you wake up the next day that there hasn't been a very long period of time between that? We just in our mind think, oh, it's been 8 hours. But what I noticed in my near-death experience when I was communicating with the Supreme Being, that I was receiving so much information and so many downloads of information that had no time or space reality. And it felt like I had been there for a very long time, but obviously my body is not going to make it for a very long time. So the time is only really relevant in our 3D, 4D reality.
Yeah, even though people always say life is just an illusion and time is just, you know, an illusion. It may be, but we have to exist within that illusion of time and space. We have to learn how to work within it. So yes,
Right.
those things are true, you know, and well, at least from our perspective, they're true. But
Actually,
go ahead.
the more we're in our presence, where we're just very centered and focused on what is happening in this exact moment, which is the only moment that we're ever really living anyway, and it's the moment of creation. The more we're in our presence, there is no time. Time is about us watching it and measuring it and being a part of that system. So it's a structure we've all accepted as humanity, and yes, we do have to adhere to it, you know, for certain things like meeting up for an appointment or whatever. But the more you're in the present, the less there is time.
It makes me kind of think that if we erased the concept of time and just lived our lives, it makes me kind of feel like if we were to measure it, it would be a much longer existence because we wouldn't be we wouldn't be focused on it.
Exactly. Yeah, and when you're not focused on it, there's always enough time for everything.
Yep. Yeah, that's beautiful. So you learned so much. You received downloads. So basically, you know, you went to beyond time. You know, you had a physical death here, but your soul, you know, was just outside of the 3D realm. And while you were there, they allowed you to bring back information, downloaded information to help you achieve a mission in this life. And did you know after you woke up from that near-death experience, did you know immediately? Like, what were your next steps after that?
Well, I woke up to a very sick body and in a lot of pain, and I actually went into a lot of shock. I was still had my veil open, and I could experience things in the other realm, and I didn't know how to be a human being anymore. And for over a month, I couldn't even talk. I just wanted to be like out of my body and in that experience. So after that experience, my children were getting concerned, and I had finally, they said, Mom, we want to show you a movie. I guess I'm talking about movies today, but there was a movie called, no, let's see. Okay, there was a movie called Now is Good, and it showed about a lady that was dying of cancer, and after she did a mushroom journey, she was able to make peace with her death and have the understanding of how our soul lives on, and we're able to live this experience. And so after watching that movie, I agreed to do a mushroom journey with my children, and that journey literally made me come alive, because I started painting incredible paintings where I couldn't express verbally. I started these beautiful paintings that allowed me to put the energy somewhere and be able to process it within myself. And that began my journey of curiosity, and also knowing that I needed to do deeper work with plant medicine. And so I moved to Hawaii and just immersed myself in plant medicine, ayahuasca and San Pedro ceremonies every week for 2 years. And it was a really profound experience that allowed me to finally create the integration and connection with everything that had happened.
It's kind of like a aha, like this is it. You stated, how you used art to bring yourself back around to express yourself. And when I imagine magic mushrooms or what psilocybin, I imagine the fact that they help you rewire your brain, because they have that connectivity to all that is, to the earth, to the roots, to death, to everything. And so they help you rewire your brain. And I'm a firm believer that mushrooms are here to save this planet 100% and evolve it. But what I was imagining is how after I did my year and a half of microdosing, that I inadvertently started coloring and moving toward mindful art. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing. I just knew it felt really good. And it really helped me process and integrate all the things that I had learned. And then now I use mindful art in work. And I've learned that mindful art, well, not only that, but it has helped me literally stop and think before I respond. And it's mindfulness is so important. And I really feel like it's the pathway that we should be starting with our children. But mindful art is just because art is natural, but mindfulness, I feel like, is supposed to be through anything you're passionate about, anything that you could tune out things and focus on that good feeling, and that home space can help rewire. And that's kind of one of the tools, I personally am using in the world of helping people come to their self-realization, and maybe not be as traumatic as maybe yourself, who went through a near-death experience to get there, but your experience and and my own experiences and others, when we go through those experiences, that kind of is what we were talking about, how we're here on this earth at this time to help the planet. We're not in the dark ages anymore. It isn't that tragic anymore, and we really just need to focus on everybody's searching for a home, everybody's searching for that feel good, everybody's searching for that, the way your pet makes you feel, everybody's searching for the way nature makes you feel. And then you hear people say, well, but I'm not all roses, I'm skeletons and darkness too. And well, yeah, maybe you are, but you're whatever you put your attention on. And you hear some people say, but I don't want to focus on, because that's not reality. And I try to say, but that's not the reality you're choosing, and really go ahead.
It's perspective. So it's like, even if you're looking at something and one person can see the light, there's still darkness to it. Maybe that's what's attracting to them. But I was going to say the idea of being in the moment, what that creative process is able to capture us into it. And there's a Japanese term for it, and it's like, I don't remember the exact term for it, but it's about celebrating being in the moment, and anything that basically helps you detach from that sense of time and being just trapped in like this space of just authentically being is what we should be doing. And it kind of ties into Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when we're in that survival space and we're in the suffering space, it's harder to think about that elevated thinking. But when we start getting into that more connected space that transcends our survival instincts, then we start creating things that are more beautiful and connected. But
So true.
we were literally having that conversation last night. It's crazy that we
Yeah,
just talked
it's
about
so
it.
true. It's just with everybody on the planet ascending at different rates right now, without the doubt that we're all ascending. But ascending at different rates right now, people are sending out a lot of different messages, and so it can get confusing. But if you can always bring yourself back, which is what mindfulness is really the goal for, bring yourself back to you, then you'll eventually, like you said, you'll get there. It's just about perspective and about where you're at the time. I agree 100%. Um,
That's
uh,
what
Go
that's
ahead.
what I found in the plant when I did plant medicine journeys, is really our shadow is the poison that we create, or our own darkness. It's the thought forms that we've agreed to, aligned to. We're allowing in our space. Anytime we're sacrificing our authenticity to keep the peace, there's all kinds of ways that we're creating difficulties and interference for us. And that's what the darkness really is. And some of these agreements are in other life streams, which is why I was speaking about having to go into this parallel life stream where I had watched the massacre of my people, and then I experienced this on my ayahuasca, that I had made a curse at the end of my life, that this would come full circle so that I could come undo the evil magic that had been brought upon my tribe. And that was the reason why I was born into my experience, why I had gone through all these things. And I literally did that process through my religious training and then unlearning all these belief systems. And ultimately, when we are able to go into the shadow part of ourselves, you're freeing up, like you said, in the amygdala in the brain. This is the part of the brain that is in the fight or flight response, which means all it is doing is trying to survive the moment. And in that moment, there's many other things that the body has downloaded as being truth that just get encapsulated, and they wait there because feelings buried alive never die. They wait for us to go and harness the raw energy in that darkness, that the shadow. Our darkness is not exploring evil. It's not going into the aspects that are, false light, which is counterfeit, inverted, because it can only mimic and invert energy. Our darkness is about becoming responsible for the negative attitudes, belief systems, all the timelines where we've created imbalances, where we understand our purpose. And what I had done was actually done a great shift for humanity, because I was able to clear my hatred and anger and the blood and horror of Mother Earth, and from all of the fighting and the wars that have been happening from that life stream by going through this process. So it's like it came full circle. In reality, everything got cleared, and that's what we're doing on our ascension process. Is we have to first clear our inner child, then we're clearing all of our relationships. Right. And then we go into, our inheritance and our DNA, and then we begin to clear whatever imbalances we've created on the planet. And then we can start accessing other planetary existence of ourselves. I mean, we're really just merging ourselves back into wholeness. So we're able to hold our mastery, because in the age of Aquarius, we're going into the age of knowing, where we deeply know ourselves as co-creators with Source, and we're using all of the raw energy of all of our pain, our suffering, our sadness, to harness it and recycle it and use it for what it was intended, which is to unlearn and undo the imbalances and become personally responsible for our own energy and our own vibration. And as we do that, then we become cohesive in our heart and in a unified field. We are drastically shifting humanity just by us being in that knowing that we hold the highest presence and vibration through our love and our unity and our consciousness, and we're literally anchoring new energies onto the earth plane because of that.
Can I note on what you're saying? So you keep going back to, you know, we are shifting the planet when we heal, and we are shifting the planet when we go back and do our other realities, our other parallel realities, our past lives. We are shifting by healing those things. We are shifting reality by healing ourselves. And so what how I've been explaining us healing ourselves changes, you know, changes the world. Is through the fact that what we're experiencing in front of us is just a projection of what's going on inside of us. So if we heal inside of us and we shift, we naturally see life from a new perspective. And when we see life from a new perspective, therefore the things outside of us change. And so really the goal is only 100% for us to heal ourselves. We don't need to heal other people. We need to heal inside of ourselves, the perspective of what we see the other people as. And if we could change that, literally the entire world would change. But it would change because we changed. We would shift to another reality, another timeline, another whatever. So basically, the world that we're trying to change right now already exists. And all we have to do is find that place within ourselves where it exists after digging through all of our layers, and then wake up one day, like you stated, you don't know how long you were asleep, but wake up one day and you're in that reality that you tried to create. So I just hear people out there talk about the matrix, you know, and I feel like people think that there's something outside of them that's controlling the world that they live in. You know, like there's a little thing saying, who says that the stars aren't just holes in a can that you're looking at, you know? And I'm thinking that means that you believe that you're living in somebody else's reality and experience, and they're controlling it. But what's really happening is that you have complete control of your perspective. You're not in a video game except for of your own making, you know? And that's kind of what I've been trying to say lately to people that are out there, you know, helping them understand you only need to see things from your own perspective. And that's why nothing really matters. Like, and I think it boils down to that's why nothing really matters, because unless you give it your attention and your energy, does it even exist?
That's exactly right, because our frequency is directing the reality that we're experiencing. So there are people already, and I'm one of them, that is experiencing new earth, and my life is bliss and beautiful, and lots of loving creations and beautiful people around me, and calling in my tribe, and I'm already living that reality because I made the conscious choice. And there's many people that are doing that because we're focusing on what really matters, which is how much can I be more love, laughter, joy, and allow my innate creativity to come through, because that's our true intelligence. And even though we're in a world that AI can make all these things, they cannot ever duplicate the human creativity. And our goal is to open up and allow that expression, because we're communicating through symbols and signs and vibrations and all of those ways that are really governing, just like we see in the cymatics, just like we see in cymatics, where the sound frequency changes the shape or geometry, and geometry is really a representation of frequency, and our bodies are made of frequency and vibrations. We're 70% water. Dr. Emoto talks about the importance of our emotions and how it changes our vibration. So we're responsible for what level of vibration we're living on. There are people on this earth living in hell. And that's because their soul has chosen to accept and not challenge or look deeper. And we're just pray that they can also be
Well, that's
this,
where
you know,
the teaching of compassion comes in.
it
And
really does. And how we cannot judge, like you said, everybody has a different level of their ascension process, and compassion.
everything has value.
Everything has value. Everybody that is doing very, very difficult lives are changing that process for humanity. And so they're heroes too.
Yes, I know. It took me a minute. I've always been drawn toward the embody compassion and have appreciation for the value in the things that are horrible. And I've written about it over the years about how even horrible things such as rape, kidnapping, murder, those horrible, horrible things. It's like it's not our job to feel those things for other people. That experience was meant to happen for many different reasons outside of what we could even potentially comprehend. But compassion is, holding the appreciation, the value of what happened without the need to feel like you need to change it. And that's why healing work for me had always been so challenging, because I felt like I wasn't supposed to be doing the work for other people. And so I stopped it for quite some time. And then when I had my ayahuasca journey, like yourself, and I was, my very last one was and I really had a hard time believing it, but it told me that I had no more healing to do, that now that I had shaman work to do. And it felt like those were really big shoes to fill, and I didn't accept it. And then I asked to be guided toward what that really meant, because I knew it had to have meant something outside of my perception of shamanism. And what I learned was what, I had done Ho'oponopono years ago, where the shaman went into the body and healed like the prisoners in the detention center, and healed things outside of himself. But he went in and had these, chants, these positive chants. And then I had read about the shaman who people went to many shamans asking for rain, and none of them could bring rain. But this one particular shaman went in and brought rain. And they asked her, what did you do to heal the world? And she's I didn't do anything to heal the world. I healed myself.
Yeah.
And so then I knew, that's how I knew that that's what the universe meant by I was going to be doing shaman work. I wasn't going to be doing anything for anybody else. I was going to be healing myself.
And that's beautiful. And I had a similar experience when I did a ayahuasca journey, where I was called to be a shaman as well. And we can be shamans in many different ways, because really a shaman is someone who sees beyond the illusion, sees beyond the beliefs of what somebody thinks they are, and can work as a hollow bone, which means this isn't me personally doing the work. I allow spirit to work through me in order to make the transformation that happens, because I know how to do it on a higher octave. And the more that we take it into a divine level, we can shift that consciousness. But it's always, we have to keep in mind, this is a free will zone. Earth is free will, and that is the governing principle here. So even though you may desire somebody to change or somebody to get it, you can shift the frequency by attuning and holding that higher level of vibration within yourself. And when we're communicating together, we're holding a higher vibration. We're in a unified field where we're creating the energy, and we put that into other people's holographic fields. It's like downloaded into the frequency. So those vibrations and signs, symbols, whatever it is, gives them permission to be able to look at things from a different reality. But really, everybody has their own responsibility and their own path that they have to do. And so as healers, our greatest work is to just teach the vibration and allow them to attune to it, because once you know that, now you can become that. We have to be able to be aware of something and bring it into our consciousness before we're actually able to make that shift in our physical reality.
That's why people can't all, that's why everybody can't hear what we're saying. Only the people that are ready to hear.
Right.
Even if they don't articulate it, they heard it, and the seeds were planted. And that's kind of like my goal with this podcast, is really, let's have these conversations. Some of my co-hosts, and people that I've invited on to be co-hosts aren't in the same space as me as far as understanding universal knowledge yet, but they've carried conversation with it, and they started to change their frequency about it. And I really feel like some of them are off integrating some of this new knowledge, and I feel like the people listening, I sometimes listen to really deep podcasts, and I am really into it, and I heard every word they said, but I didn't understand any of it. But later it starts to come back around. Oh, and then that's where your aha moments come, and you don't know where aha moments come from sometimes, but it came from a planted seed, something you heard somewhere that didn't make sense that came to the forefront.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it, because we literally are just, as we hold our own frequency, our own mastery, we talk about what is possible in our realities. Now that changes other people's perspective of what is possible, because sometimes they don't even know what is possible. We're going to experience within the next several years such major shifts in humanity and the way things are being uncovered and exposed. We're going into deeper levels of awareness of how things really happen, which is literally about mastering our frequency. And so a lot of people are going to have to start learning on a really rapid level. But just like the 4-minute mile, when it was broken by the first person, and then after that, other people could run that for, It's the 100th monkey thing, where the monkey started washing its fruit, and then all the monkeys on the islands that never saw the monkey wash the fruit were washing their fruit. So literally we're shifting humanity by each of us turning on our own light, our own awareness, anchoring our energies and our frequencies, and working through the heart coherence, which in reality works in the quantum field by bringing that neutrality to old, outdated programs, stories, and timelines, so that we can neutralize it, and through that process then shift to what we're really here to do, because we're here to have a lot of fun, make a lot of love, and laugh, and just enjoy each other as community like we used to do at tribes. That's the ultimate.
You nailed the fun part, because see, sometimes people don't think that growing spiritually is fun, but what I'm noticing is more things such as superhero movies, where they're using their powers. And we all dream that when we're younger. I know I did. I know I've had meditations where I've done it. And I remember dreaming about using, our powers through the power of mind, and things that we have innate in us, but we've always been conditioned to think that we couldn't do. And I think that, starting with the children, as, teaching them. So I've seen, you said something a minute ago that triggered a memory, but I've seen something, and I shared it with my daughter, but it's a school. And in this school, the children all wear these special blinders, and they don't use their sight whatsoever. And they will hold up cards, and the kids already know as they hold up the card what it says. They know how to go around, the obstacles without hitting them, without seeing. And we're already in a space where we're teaching the young ones how to use their other senses, because superhero isn't really, superhero is labeled as a dream and something outside of us, but really it's very possible if we would learn how to use our other senses differently.
Which is very interesting, because in the Eastern world, like for instance, Nepal, they know that everything is energy. Their whole entire system functions off of energy, and they learn these arts and know that we can change everything through our magic, through our vibration, through holding the intention to calling in the elements and the sources. Like, they already did that. And in our Western world is where we've been taught, no, if it's not seen, it's not science, it's not practical, you didn't learn it in school, it doesn't exist. And this is where we have to start relearning, because everything is vibrational frequency. We can change things just by knowing that we can.
Yeah, I'm really working with that. Lark and I, Lark has 3 children, and I have a daughter, and her oldest daughter and my daughter are a lot alike in similarities in the things that they choose. But I'm a firm believer that it's because they came into this world with a different programming. And therefore they challenge us, because we live in a society we're conditioned to live in, and they don't really quite get why they have to live in it that way. And so therefore they just, it's just an offbeat kind of thing. And I'm a firm believer that as I'm healing, my daughter is maturing. And it's because I'm approaching her and I'm dealing with things in a different way, and less from my conditioned response as as I'm growing and healing. And
You're helping her navigate.
Go ahead.
You're helping her navigate and live by different parameters that she's been looking for.
Yeah, I mean, and share with us, like, what have you noticed different?
It's just the same. It's just, she wants to operate with her own rules, and that's fine. But at the same time, she's got plenty to teach me as well. And we're just kind of navigating this together, operating with the different rules that we're experiencing and learning. So, I mean, it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but it's worth it. It's been a crazy journey so far. But watching her come into her own self has been amazing. I mean, even these conversations that we're having right now, like the last little bit, these are the conversations that have been cropping up with her and with her friends. So it's been cool. But I do feel like it is a type of evolution, like, talking about having extra senses or whatnot. It's like, it's almost watching a different type of evolution. And I know that they've shown that I think it was in South Africa, but they had certain blind cultures that used a type of their language involved like a type of like clicking noise. They were actually able to visualize things using the same type of echolocations that certain animals do. And they showed that development of the brain, but as much as it can evolve in a physical sense with something like that, where they're actually able to conceptualize something, it's entirely possible that we are in turn also learning to conceptualize things that are way more external than we ever could have fathomed.
So we just need to rewire our brain to live infinite and limitless, because I tell everybody all the time, we are limitless beings. Exactly. And I think it's hard to grasp that we're limitless but we are limitless. Like, there is nothing that's not possible. And one day we're going to wake up and everything's going to look and be different. And we're going to be like, wow, like, look what we've evolved to. And I think maybe, even the way we look at time and space will help slow things down. I mean, we're, what's the word? Immortal in a sense. What do you think about Elayne?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that, especially right now, that we're getting more and more of our innate skills and everything that we've been told that's like magical or telepathy or teleporting or even remote viewing, all of those things. We're moving into a time where we can't keep secrets anymore. Our vibration is revealing who we really are. And we're also in a state of evolution where once it's possible, now you can achieve it. And it's through our own, expression of our unique individual purpose and potential. We're bringing information that's teaching these little crystalline children that are already awake, and they already know these frequencies, that's normal, and that they can grow up and develop those skills. So they're really teaching us too.
Yeah, absolutely. Elayne, if any of our listeners, are really fascinated with your story today and maybe they want to work with you in some way, shape, or form, what is it that you do now for work and humanity? How would they find you, or what would you do with work? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. Yeah, my website, www.empowerwholeness.com. I have some complimentary course there. I have some attunements that they can go through. Also, I do individual sessions. I do mentorships. I work with couples mentorships. I focus around intimacy and divine union to expand that connection and to clear those frequencies. I have a healing intimacy course that works with the lower chakras to clear the lower vibrational energies in the chakra system and help you be rebirthed into the new essence of yourself. And also many other things that you need to check out on my website. I also run several Facebook pages and groups. So look at the bottom of my website to find those experiences as well.
Wonderful. I'll go look there as well so that when I do the show notes, I can add some of those in there.
All right. Also, I'm offering a presence attunement for listening today. So if you want to click the link below, this attunement teaches you how to reset your physical body and your nervous system and bring yourself into presence. So it's really powerful.
That's great in a day and age where people are learning that they have to regulate their emotions and respond and not react. I think that's kind of a theme in the mental health world right now is getting out of the fight or flight and catching it in the moment, and then taking that breath and consciously realizing that you're about to respond or react in a unhealthy way that will only detour you back to what you've always done, whereas you could then catch it and respond in a new way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it's all about, is our self-awareness and responsibility, because really, like, words are really tonal frequencies, and they have a tone or vibration, and we're literally responding to these tonal vibrations. So we have to just teach ourselves that even though somebody is choosing to project something, it's not personal, and we're not taking it personal. And we know we're holding ourselves in our own awareness and responsible for the way that we communicate. And we're here to raise the vibration. So when anybody is in a state of when anybody's discordant with their frequency, it's because they're believing untruth about themselves. So it's having compassion, offering a different suggestion, and not taking it personal.
So I get you 100% on the not taking it personal part. Here's my question for you, and I bet you there's a lot of people out there who would love to hear your answer on it. So myself, and I know Lark is as well, being sensitive beings who feel everything, as most women do, and they don't really know a lot of times, but I feel everything. And I've become really good at knowing when it's mine and when it's not, even when it's psychically the person's not with me. And I know to not take it personal. I understand that. But how do you change your inner response? So like I sometimes will receive, I'm really close to my daughter. So sometimes when she's heightened, my body naturally gets heightened too. And I want to react because that's what I'm matching that vibration. What is a technique or tool when you feel that initial trigger because what I had to do the last time I was triggered was take that moment, that pause before I reacted. And I literally told myself, I like hugged myself internally and said, "You're okay. You're safe. It's okay. It's okay."
Yeah.
And took a deep breath. But sometimes that takes a little bit of time. to like de-escalate. So what are some tips and tools on when you know it's not your energy, but you feel it in your body to help people not respond? And maybe, I don't know what I really don't know how else to say it. I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to explain.
Right. Well, first of all, I love that you acknowledge it. Women are so sensitive, and when we used to live in tribes, we literally processed everything for the entire tribe through our cycles, and that's why everything's so painful. During your menstrual cycle, women process the entire family's issues. So we have to give them a break because they're moving that energy for the entire tribe or family connection, or even a group of friends. So when we already know that we're in a heightened sensitive area, like you said, it's really important to take your time away. Just say, excuse me for a minute, I need to go work through something. Now you can become the observer of yourself. You are observing what is upsetting you, what is triggering, what is going on. And then listen to your internal voice, because it's there, you know what it is. And when you can pinpoint it, you can ask that question, is this mine or is this somebody else's? And what did it trigger for me? Because usually it's going to trigger an inner child issue that has to do with not being worthy. That's humanity's core issue, right? So if somebody's projecting to you that you're not worthy, you have a choice whether you're going to receive that or you're going to hold that mastery within yourself, because you've already healed this. You already know that you are here doing exactly what you need to do. And so everything is either a cry for love or an expression of love. And when you can change that perspective and say, this person is really asking me to love them, now you can go back and say, I'm sorry, did I, what is really bothering you? And just get very honest in the communication and choose to listen to hear, because so many times we listen to respond. So if you're actually listening to them and you allow them to tell their story, they're going to go to the same story of unworthiness too. And they're asking for love. Listen to it and then remind them that they are loved. And when you do that, now they're happy. There's no longer that angst, and you are also happy. So you've been able to master the situation instead of creating it as a personal attack. And this is something, shamans, we have to also hold that frequency. It is, we're here to provoke untruth. We're here to bring up the parts of people, and I just do it in my, I don't even know I'm saying it, and then people go, oh, remember when you said this? I don't remember.
Oh yeah, that's me all the time.
Right? But it like profoundly changed their life or whatever it was. So like, I just allow what is coming through me and its wisdom as a hollow bone to be expressed, because I am always holding the intention of creating unity and love in this moment. And since this moment is the only moment that we are truly experiencing, I will stay there with that situation until both of us feel resolution and can create neutrality with it.
That's very well said. Thank you for that. Lark, is there anything you wanted to add or ask?
No, I'm baffled that the conversation has been continued over the last couple of days with us. So it's really awesome to hear. I mean, you said it often about all exchanges are a request for love or a gift of love. And it's like, I've had this conversation literally every day for the last 3 days with different folks, and it's just come up organically. So it's like, this must be the theme right now. Especially with like all the craziness astrologically going on right now. Everyone seems to be kind of in this desperate survival space. And so I think there's a lot of people that are receptive to just, what do I need to do to change my frequency? So it's cool to have that conversation.
Yeah, the universe is definitely showing you that the things you've been hearing and saying are like those patterns are showing up. So the synchronicity is like confirmation. That's awesome. I love those experiences.
Whenever we're upset or feel uncomfortable, it's because we have trapped energy that's going on in our body or in our energy field. We have to remember that we have a chakra system, which is bringing energy in like a vortex in the front and also in the back, and then also our light bodies, which are stacked this direction. And you can actually do some healing by just feeling where the imbalance is and moving it counterclockwise. That will help start moving the energy so that you're not feeling the tension that's going on. So you can start working also with your chakra systems. You can work, the heart and move it counterclockwise. It might be here, it might be out here because you're working in a different part of your light body. But just start giving your body an opportunity to release the tension and open up the trapped energy. Trapped energy is the raw energy of the old programs, old stories, old belief systems. And once we harness that energy by becoming the inner parent and parenting that part of ourself that is still wounded and still needs some guidance and protection, now we can shift the perspective, like we've said, into what it was really created for us to do, and use that to start projecting what timeline is bringing me the highest joy. We're not stuck in anything. The only thing keeping us stuck is our belief that we're stuck.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And so I did something because how you were saying that the study of water and how we're 70%. I don't know the exact percentage, but I know what you were speaking of because we talked about it last week on the podcast. I had Emma here, a shamanic healer, and I was saying how when we think it, we become it. And that's because when they tested it on water, that when you put the energy into the water, it, when you magnified it and looked at it, the energy changed. And so that's what happens with ourselves. When we think it, we become it. And so I have been I know the universe very clearly told me that the work I'm doing as far as the podcast and other content and services that I'm going to be offering more frequently are coming to fruition. But my issue had always been marketing. Like, I don't really like pushing anything on anybody. I don't want to be spamming anybody. I don't like the push energy. Salespeople drive me nuts because they're trying to get something out of it. And I don't feel like that's my job to get something out of it. I feel like I'm just creating and speaking and channeling the divine, information. And so yesterday I was sitting Monday, because Saturday we put out episode 1 of season 2. And I grabbed a pad of paper and I wrote a letter to the universe, and I hired the universe to be my marketing and networking agent. And I said, I'll pay you in the content that I channel through source to the universe. And then you, in exchange, will put the right people of the audience in front of me, and you'll put the right clients in front of me, and you'll put the right guests in front of me, and the right co-hosts in front of me. And in exchange, I will co-create what needs to be done. And I went on to our metrics after that first episode, and it was higher than any of the all-time episodes from last season in 4 days. So it had like 65% up, and I was like, all I had to do was literally hand it over.
Yeah. And I love the fact that we don't have to do things the way that the rest of the world does it anymore. We literally are always aligning to at the right place at the right time with our people and those that want to hear the messages. We don't have to force anything. It's allowing our vibrational alignment to connect to that reality.
I tell everybody, go toward the hell yes. If you get I'm not quite sure, then it's not yes yet. So don't go that way. And so I've really been using it because it works. And my timing is like crazy nuts, and it's because I listen to what feels right. And if it doesn't feel 100% right, then it's just not meant to happen yet.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's been so wonderful. Is there anything else that you want to share with us today before we end this?
Oh, thank you so much for having me on your show. And I really enjoy working with both of you, Lori and Lark.
Yeah, you have beautiful energy. I really enjoyed all of this 100%. I hope that, we get to work again in the future. I will be having you. Not everybody in the audience knows about Wisdom Beyond Time, but that is our new podcast coming out in late fall, early winter, where it's less conversation based like we had today, where we get to kind of go off topic and delve deep into rabbit holes. It's more inviting guests like you on, and you're going to be our guest, sharing your story, so that people can learn from your experience, just by maybe they'll never have a near-death experience to be able to gain that wisdom, or maybe they'll never go into a shamanic journey or astral travel, but some people have, and they have stories to share, that will maybe be a way for people to wake up and realize that, time and space is limiting and there's much more to gain outside of time and space. So I'm excited to have you on to share more about your story, and then maybe turn it into a documentary.
That would be fabulous.
It'd be fabulous. I look forward to seeing you again soon, and thank you so much for coming on.